for comments and suggestions. This period of comment is not intended to require the commission or staff to answer any questions or provide a response. Questions requiring a response shall be answered as soon as possible through the county manager's office. Tonight's citizens' comments will be limited to 3 minutes. As I call your name, please state your name and address for the record. First citizen, before I get to that, I just want to mention, since we've had so much going back and forth over the last month or so, when the red light comes on, it will be muted, and I will ask you to stop at that time. So please make sure, we're going to make sure everybody gets their 3 minutes tonight, so we'll do that on a consistent basis to make sure. The first person to speak tonight is Ms. Brittany Elkin.
Hi, my name is Brittany Elkin. I live at 3012 High Ridge Court. A year or two ago, my kids were outside playing with the neighbors when a police officer pulled into our neighborhood to say hello and let them see all the cool stuff in the car. The kids thought it was awesome, and honestly, so did I. So I want to be very clear. I understand the value of our men and women in uniform and their importance in this community. That is why I believe that an ounce of prevention would go a long way in Gaston County. Teachers are foundational to the long-term safety and success of our communities, and this is backed by research. Multiple studies show that stronger public school funding leads to lower rates of violent and property crime. When students receive strong, well-funded education, they gain access to better jobs and critical life skills like impulse control, problem solving, and long-term thinking that are directly tied to the lower crime rates. We can not only focus on responding to crime, we need to invest in preventing it. And right now, Gaston County is choosing reaction over prevention. We spend about twice as much on public safety as we do on classroom operations, even though education is one of the strongest long-term public safety investments that we could make. And when I've pressed this issue, I've been told we have to look at debt service. So I did. And guess what? Other counties have school debt too, but they do not use it as an excuse to underfund classroom operations. Gaston County provides about $54 million in operating support for our public schools, while carrying about $35 million in school debt service. Johnston County collects about the same amount in property taxes as Gaston, but provides $110 million in school operating support, while carrying about $42 million in school debt. So they have more debt than we do, and they still fund their classrooms about double what we do. That means this is not a money problem. This is a priority problem. And Gaston County's...
Please, we're going to hold our applause.
And Gaston County's priorities are on full display in this budget. I urge you to fund our schools based on their original request, not the watered-down, realistic version created after years of being told no. And between now and the next meeting, I will continue to share the numbers and help parents understand how their children are being put last in this county over and over. And if anybody here is hoping that we will get quiet and go away, we will not. It is time for us to get our priorities in order and fund our schools. Thank you.
I'm going to ask for everybody. We're not going to applaud. We're not going to do it for anybody, one side or the other, or anything. That way everybody gets the expedient time that they need to be here. The next person is Ms. Heather Elkin.
Good evening. My name is Heather Elkin. My address is 3708 Princeton Drive. I was born and raised in Gaston County. I'm a graduate of Forest View High School. I was raised by two educators who gave 30 years of service to Gaston County schools, one as a beloved kindergarten and AG teacher, one as an esteemed principal and deputy assistant superintendent. I was raised in an environment that focused on the importance of public education. And public education at that time looked very different than it does in this county today. Two of my three children are students at Robinson Elementary, and my third starts kindergarten there in the fall. I was proud to enroll them in the same elementary school that I attended as a child and where my mother taught kindergarten for 20 years. The education I received through Gaston County Schools was stellar, and I wanted the same for my children. But what I see today as my children are being raised in that same school system looks different. Their teachers don't have the supplies they need. Now they don't have the staff that is necessary to provide our children with a well-rounded education. Librarians, school counselors, and nurses are gone. Theater programs are gone. I never could have imagined that a school system would get to such dire straits, and it's incomprehensible to me that we are here, but we are. The Board of Education has consistently been asking you for funds and have been receiving significantly less than what they need. This year, they aren't even asking for what they need, but only for what's realistic. Why is that? Because they know that you won't give them what they need? Why are our children and teachers not being prioritized in the county budget? Why are we spending so much less on education than peer counties? These children are the future of this community. They are the next generation of nurses, police officers, paramedics, and important members of our community who need the foundation that should be taught to them in our schools. Like I said, I'm a product of Gaston County Schools, and I have proudly served this community as a nurse for 20 years. Who is going to come behind me? Students whose education has been whittled down to the very basics because of lack of funds, vulnerable children who have fallen through the cracks because they didn't have a school counselor, students whose specials departments have been cut because we don't have enough money to pay for well-rounded education for them. A successful community depends on successful children, and I don't see how they can be successful in this environment. I fully understand that this is also a state-level issue with our legislatures failing to pass a budget, but all other counties in the state are dealing with that same problem. Yet the majority of those counties are choosing to spend significantly more than we are per pupil. I remember my dad fighting tirelessly for the teachers and students of Gaston County Schools. He was here at these commissioners' meetings every month fighting to get what he needed for his schools. And now that he's retired, I will come stand here too and fight for them.
Thank you. Stephanie Hart. We're not going to do this. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean, but we have to stop this. If it continues, we'll just start escorting. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Stephanie Hartman, and I live at 1223 Oakwood Avenue. I'm here as both a parent and a transplant who chose Gaston County. I'm not from Gastonia, but I am an engaged citizen. I'm a financial advisor, a Rotarian, a historic district commissioner, Sunday school teacher, and PTA member. By every definition, I represent the kind of engaged citizen this county says it wants to recruit and retain. But for our family, retention is at risk. The Board of Education once again is about to submit a bare bones budget anticipating that this body will not fully fund our schools. As a result, $3.3 million was preemptively cut from funding intended for exceptional students. I am the parent of one of those students. My son, Sammy, is exceptional in every way. He is exceptionally smart, exceptionally funny, and exceptionally kind. He does not require an EC classroom, but what he needs and what federal law requires is access to a general education classroom with additional supports. Those supports are what is being cut. Under the IDEA Act, the services in his IEP are not optional. They are not a nice to have, they are the law. Because our districted school is failing, our family drives 17 miles each way from the historic district to Pinewood Elementary in Mount Holly so that our son will receive an exceptional education. Pinewood was the only passing school to accept him through the lottery process. I applied to 10 different schools to get him into a quality kindergarten and applied for private ESA grants as well, for which we were denied. The process of getting Sammy into a Gaston County kindergarten that was not failing was more difficult than getting into graduate school. And I go to Harvard. Families should not have to bend over backwards in this county just to ensure that our children are educated adequately and legally. And let me be clear about accountability. We do understand the state and federal government share blame. Tonight, we're asking you to step up and to lead locally because you do not strengthen a workforce or retain engaged citizens without supporting our kids. And shame on anyone who would balance a budget but by denying fundamental rights to children with disabilities. Fund Gaston County Schools at the full $68 million outlined in the superintendent's original budget. This represents only 32% of local property tax revenue allocated to schools and still places Gaston County at the bottom of peer-sized counties for the proportion of the budget being allocated to school funding. This is the bare minimum. And the fact that families are here groveling for funding that still amounts to less than average is unacceptable. So let me be very clear. We, the parents of Gaston County, will not stand by while you gamble with our kids' future. If this body will not adequately invest in education, parents will run. We will campaign, and we will vote to replace you with leaders who will keep our children first.
Thank you. Holland Delaney.
Good evening. My name is Holland Delaney. I'm at 1005 South Point Road in Belmont. My daughter is a fourth grader at Belmont Central, and my son will attend kindergarten at Page Primary this fall. I appreciate your time this evening to hear our thoughts, along with a lot of other concerned parents here with me. Across Gaston County, our teachers are being asked to do more with fewer resources, balancing larger class sizes, limited supplies, increasing academic and social emotional needs. They did this with professionalism and dedication, but it's coming at a real cost. Increasingly, teachers are absorbing more responsibilities, both administrative and beyond. Things that are traditionally supported by guidance counselors, media specialists, and instructional support staff. These professionals play a critical role in our students' success, supporting mental health, literacy, and access to learning resources. When those roles are understaffed and spread too thin, teachers are having to step in to fill that gap. At the same time, Gaston County invests less locally per student in education than so many comparable counties, even though our residents carry a relatively high property tax burden. That gap is felt not in abstract numbers, but in daily workloads, support capacity, and long-term sustainability for these teachers. This is about local priorities and local choices. We are asking for you to prioritize our children and the educators who lead them. We should not depend on teachers' goodwill or parents' supplemental efforts to maintain essential educational services. Our educators deserve the resources and staffing necessary to focus on what they do best, teaching, mentoring, and supporting these students who are going to be the future of Gaston County. I'm here to ask you to continue to strengthen education as a core county priority, ensuring our schools are open and fully funded at the request of the Board of Education to do the work that they do every day. Our children benefit when teachers feel supported. Our community benefits when schools are stable and well-resourced. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Holly Ball.
My name is Holly Ball. I live at 2717 Blackjack Oak Court, Gastonia. Thank you for letting me speak today. I will get straight to the point, Mr. Chairman. There's an educational deficiency in this district. The kids of Gaston County are depending on you. I am from Arizona, taught junior high for 11 years, language arts and social studies. It is my passion. I love it, and I love teenagers, believe it or not. We moved to North Carolina in 2018. After 7 years of being a stay-at-home mom, I went back to work. I was hired to teach ELA at a middle school. Quickly, I began to see the mismanagement of the district. Number one, EC students are not serviced according to the IEPs. The EC person who was supposed to service my IEP students, the minutes, was not available most of the time. I asked about this missing minutes, and I was told I was at the helm of the ship. The EC department needs funding for more people to service our IEP students. No student should be left behind due to staff shortages. It's illegal. Education is a human right. Number two, funding is needed for support staff for safety in the community of the school. Fights would break out in my classroom every 2 to 3 weeks. I called for support staff who would never come or would come 30 minutes after the call. At-risk schools should have extra support staff, a school-wide behavior plan that everyone needs to enforce, and have follow-through with consequences. What happens to the kids that want to sit there and learn? Lastly, 3, Mr. Chairman, teacher retention needs to be addressed. With this budget, schools will be working in just the bare bones. When my husband and I look for a house to buy in Gastonia, I examine the school district, spending per student, the district budget. When families look for housing, they look at the district. This is bad publicity for this district. Teachers are losing their jobs. How do you expect people to move here? There are all these nice new houses for families to move into, but the boards of the district don't want to invest into the children of the district. I would go somewhere else. There goes the tax dollars. Teachers need money and support. Just remember, when you retire, you will need a wonderful, knowledgeable nurse at the hospital down the street. You will need a literate, mathematically inclined EMT if you need it. Gaston County needs good engineers that can build bridges to sustain all the traffic that has increased over time. Teachers of Gaston County are educating the future of this county to become plumbers, electricians, lawyers, doctors, and teachers. You want them to go to local colleges and technical schools. The teachers who have jobs now are not paid enough. They could look elsewhere, like South Carolina. A side note, my family and I are moving back.
Please wrap it up. Thank you. Next person is Alicia Brinkley.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Brinkley, and my address is 4050 South Cove Lane in Belmont. I come to you tonight not as a teacher or a staff member, but as a mom, a pediatric nurse, and a community member who is genuinely worried about the direction of public education in this county. I have 2 daughters, a second grader at Belmont Central and a rising kindergartner who will attend Page Primary. Like many parents here tonight, my children's classrooms are not numbers on a spreadsheet or items in a budget. They are real places where my children will spend their days learning, growing, and becoming who they will be. I ask that you listen carefully tonight, not just to me, but to all of the speakers, and carry our words with you as you make decisions that directly affect our children. I am a proud product of public schools. When my husband and I chose to raise our family here more than 13 years ago, we did so intentionally. We believed deeply in public education and trusted this district to provide a strong, supportive foundation for our children. Today, that trust feels uncertain. Teachers are the backbone of our schools, yet year after year, we ask more of them while quietly removing the support they need to succeed. We pile on responsibility and stress, often without pay that honors the weight of their work. As essential positions are eliminated, teachers are forced to absorb the roles of others, special education staff, teaching assistants, school nurses, and now counselors and librarians. I worry deeply about what that means for our children. Last year, Page Primary did not have functioning air conditioning during the weeks leading up to the school year. Teachers still showed up, moving into newly constructed classrooms to accommodate an ever-growing student population, once again asked to make it work no matter the conditions. Many of these teachers are spending their own money on basic necessities like paper and cleaning supplies. And I keep asking, why isn't there funding for the bare minimum? Why has this become accepted as the new normal? How can we expect our children to thrive when people who support them are being cut and schools are already short-staffed? You have incredibly important decisions ahead. When you approve budgets and allocate funding, I ask that you picture your own child, your grandchildren, sitting in one of these classrooms. Picture their teacher, their school day, and make decisions as if their safety and future depend on it. Because for our families, they do. We are asking you, pleading with you, to treat these decisions with the urgency and responsibility our children deserve. These choices will affect our children not just this year, but for the entirety of their school careers. This is not about pointing fingers. It's about repairing something that is failing the very children it's meant to serve. Thank you.
Ms. Leah Wilson.
Good evening. My name is Leah Wilson. I'm at 164 Morgan's Branch Road in Belmont. My husband and I have 2 daughters, a 4th grader at Belmont Central and a kindergartner at Page Primary. My husband is a proud product of Gaston County Schools, coming from a family of Gaston County educators, just like some of you in this room and this board this evening. He has also worked in local government in Gaston County for the past 18 years and currently works for the city of Belmont. I stand before you tonight not only as a parent and a community member, but as an oncology nurse who chose a second career because I wanted to know that I was making a difference. I have to believe that that same desire to leave your community better than you found it is a part of what called each of you to serve on this board. Our schools are not separate from our community. They are our community. The children sitting in Gaston County classrooms today are tomorrow's workforce. Over 50% of the adults who power this county today live and work right here, which shows that our schools are directly shaping the future of our county's workforce. Education lays the groundwork for everything that follows in a child's life. When schools are underfunded, the impact isn't limited to test scores or classroom resources. It affects whether students stay, families stay, and whether our county can build and sustain that strong local workforce. We all know that it takes just one teacher, one coach, one adult who believes in a child to change the entire trajectory of their future. That kind of impact doesn't happen when classrooms are overcrowded and educators are stretched beyond what's reasonable. It happens when schools are appropriately supported and funded. And I fully recognize that this challenge may be happening statewide,
without an approved state budget. But you right now have the opportunity to make a real difference right here in our town, in our own country, our own county. Because state funding isn't enough to run the system on its own, and county commissioners decide whether schools sink or stay afloat. And while the state sets the floor, the county commissioners are a part of deciding whether teachers get competitive supplements, staffing levels are sustainable, layoffs happen, and also control whether schools can fill funding gaps and avoid crises like the one happening now. We are growing rapidly in this county, yet we are asking our schools to do significantly more with significantly less. And the numbers we are seeing reflect that strain. This funding crisis isn't abstract. Finding funding and investing in education is not just an expense, it's a commitment to our own county's future. Our children deserve classrooms that allow them to thrive and not just get by. So I ask you tonight, please choose to be remembered as the board that stood up for its children and refused to underfund their future. Now is the moment that you prove it with action that we voted to put the right people on the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you.
Next person is Ms. Allison Lucas.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Allison Lucas. I live at 5714 Kildare Court in Belmont. For over a decade, I told this community's stories as an anchor and reporter at WSOC TV Channel 9. I covered difficult decisions and the weight of leadership, so I understand what sits in front of you. But tonight, I'm not here as a journalist. I'm here as a mom. My daughter, Hope, is a second grader at Belmont Central Elementary School. And every morning, she walks into that school with excitement, energy, and trust. Trust that she is safe and trust that she's supported. And that trust didn't just happen overnight. It was built. It was fostered, first at Page Primary School, where she learned how to read. And if you've ever watched a child learn how to read, you know it's more than just academic. It is emotional. It is transformational when their frustration turns into confidence. The moment a child realized, I can do this, her teachers gave her that. Her teachers encouraged her, they believed in her, and they helped her believe in herself. Her teachers are people she looks up to. They are people she loves so much that at the end of every school year, there are tears, real tears, because the connection is real. And I pray that her little sister is blessed to experience that same connection when she begins kindergarten in the next few years. Our schools are a place of connection, belonging, and growth. And that's what we risk when we don't fully invest in them. When we underfund them, we don't just tighten a budget, we put pressure on everything that makes those moments matter and makes them possible. We stretch the teachers thinner, we limit opportunity, and we risk weakening the very connections that make our schools so impactful. This decision is bigger than a bottom line. Strong schools build strong communities. They shape our future, our workforce, and the culture we all value and why we love living here. So please, invest in our schools, invest in our teachers, and protect the excitement, the trust, and the connections that children like my Hope and her little sister carry with themselves every single day. Thank you.
Ms. Anna Renfro.
Good evening, Chairman Brown, Vice Chair Hovis, and members of the Commission. My name is Dr. Anna Renfro. I reside at 1625 Havelock Drive in Gastonia. I recently retired with over 40 years in education, a portion of which I'm proud to say was as a part of Gaston County Schools. I had the privilege of working under Dr. Ed Sadler. Many of you know and remember him. There are primarily two types of consequences, intended and unintended. Over the last year, I've watched the Board of Education reel over the unintended shortfall of $10 million. As with this board, I believe members of the Board of Education are passionate about their work and representation in the community. I have no doubt that each and every member of the Board of Education has been extremely concerned about the shortfall and continues to work alongside the superintendent to ensure that something like this never happens again. I agree with you and with them that it cannot and must not happen again. On the other hand, we have the Board of Commission. If I may quote Commissioner Keeger's Facebook post from this afternoon where he addressed your perspective on the school system's loss of the $7.2 million. This is state funding and has nothing to do with the county government. Unintended consequences often reveal situations that are uncomfortable for all parties involved. In this case, one unintended consequence of the property valuation changes resulted in a $7.2 million shortfall affecting your constituents who care deeply about public education and the quality of that education. Additionally, the Post continued and spoke to the addition of a $5.5 million in supplement funding over the last 11 years. Thank you for your efforts in this area. However, using 11 years as the baseline, Gaston County Schools is now in a position to lose $79.2 million over the same 11 years. That's huge. Another question was raised, should this not have been foreseeable alongside rising property values? The response concerned me as that we were not informed of this until after the budget was adopted. The uncomfortable situation is that we have two boards that don't seem that they talk to each other. Neither board should have been blindsided, in my opinion, and no superintendent should be put in a position to tell his board that they'll only ask for what they think they can get. Tonight, I'm encouraging you to not only approve the budget request of the board, but to supplement the budget by the $7.2 million shortfall, which is a direct result of decisions around the property valuation, over which you have control. Thank you.
Samantha Easters.
My name is Samantha Easters, and I live at 205 Red Oak Court in Gastonia. Over the past month, I, like many others, have spent time trying to understand how Gaston County Schools ended up in the position they are in today. Over multiple years, Gaston County Schools has asked for increased local funding and received minimal increases in response, while clearly outlining the impact of expiring COVID funds, inflation, rising benefits, and the need to retain staff. What we're seeing now is a funding priority issue year after year. And I want to speak directly to the priorities this county has laid out publicly. You've said that you want to strengthen community partnerships. Our public schools are one of the most critical partners in this county. You've said that you want to recruit new industries and grow our economy. Strong public schools are one of the first things businesses will look at when deciding where to invest. You've said that you want to recruit and retain a strong workforce. That workforce is educated in our schools. Our teachers are also part of that workforce. You have said that you value transparency, accountability, and citizen engagement. The school system has been transparent about its needs, and now citizens are here asking you to act. You've said that you want efficiency and responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars, but when schools are forced into hiring freezes, program cuts, and emergency funding requests, that's not efficiency, it's instability. You've said that you want a structurally balanced budget, but our schools are not operating within a structurally balanced reality. They're operating in survival mode. And I want to speak not just as a community member, but also as a social worker professionally who works with children and families. I see what happens when schools do not have enough support. I see children struggling with anxiety, trauma, and unmet basic needs. Schools are often the first place those needs are identified and supported. I see families relying on schools not just for education, but for stability, structure, meals, and connection to different resources. When positions are cut, when existing staff is stretched too thin, these needs don't disappear, they go unmet. And when those needs go unmet, the impact does not stay in the classroom. It shows up in our healthcare systems, our social services, and eventually our community as a whole. So this is not just about education funding. This is about the overall health and stability of Gaston County. The need has been communicated and it's not been met. If education is truly a priority in Gaston County, it has to be reflected in funding decisions, not just in statements. Right now, our students, our teachers, and schools are paying the price of being placed at the bottom of the priority list for too long. When we underfund schools, we don't eliminate problems. We pay for them later in more expensive systems. Thank you.
Tatcha Prado.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Tasha Prieto. I reside at 1136 North Alexander Street. I was born in North Carolina, and I'm a property owner in this county. As a daughter of North Carolina, my roots include both North Carolina enslavers and the poor whites sent to protect the status quo for the 1% in the Civil War. I mention my roots because outside, after the last meeting, the Confederacy supporters wanted to know how many members of my family fought in the Civil War. As if the greater the number, the greater the right I might have to an opinion on the racist statue. The answer is at least 5. I'm not proud of that number, but it should give my opinion on the statue's subject equal footing with the Confederacy supporters, who claim it is a memorial to our shared ancestors. And my opinion is that we should remember our failings as a society, not honor them. We should teach our children where we strayed from the ideal of equality for all. We should not honor the Civil War, which at its heart was fought expressly to keep equality from all. We should teach our children where we strayed from the ideal of blind justice. We should not honor the second iteration of the KKK in the 1910s when this statue was erected, designed to expressly intimate that justice is neither blind nor equal in this courthouse. Instead, let's teach our children the truth about the Civil War. Let's teach our children that when we as a society realize the error of our ways, our past ways, we correct course. That when we know better, we do better. For that reason, I respectfully request that the statue be moved elsewhere, to a graveyard or to a museum. That way the county commissioners can show they truly support the fundamental American ideals of equality for all and blind justice. Thank you.
Cameron Cowell.
Hello, my name is Cameron Cowell from 3241 Wicklow Lane. Good evening. We had to do some writing with my first grade class this week, and I was asking my students why they think education is important, why they think school is important. What I'm about to read you came straight from them, my first graders, the 6- and 7-year-olds. They wrote, people need to learn because they don't have to be dumb all the time. Wording's a little. They wrote, we want to learn. They wrote, we want to learn math. They wrote, because you learn good. And they wrote, so you can be smart. They're trying to say something bigger than their words. They're asking for a chance to read, a chance to understand numbers, a chance to feel proud when they figure something out, a chance to grow up with options. They already believe that school will give them that future. The hard truth is this: our local funding decisions don't match their dreams, that don't match their beliefs. This commission decides how much of our property taxes go to our schools. Other counties choose to invest more. We do not. Our teachers and school leaders are doing the work. We show up every day, we stretch every dollar, and we carry this system. But we cannot replace and carry what is not funded. The gap shows up in classrooms, it shows up in staffing, and it shows up in what these children get each and every day. These children don't see budget or politics. They see adults. They trust the adults. And helping them right now, that trust is not being met with our priorities and funding in this county. You have a choice. You can keep funding schools at this level and accept the results that come with it. Or you can decide tonight that these children are worth more. Increase local funding for our schools, use our property taxes to support them at a higher level. Because when a 6 or 7-year-old asks for the chance to learn and adults in charge have the means to help out but choose not to, that is not a misunderstanding, that is a decision, and these children will live with it.
Noah Hartley.
Noah Hartley, 206 Kenwood Drive. This is my 6th year teaching visual arts at Hunter Huss High School. I was just named Teacher of the Year there and a top 5 finalist for Gaston County Schools Teacher of the Year. My father taught there, my brother taught there, my sister-in-law taught there, and for over 3 decades, my family has personally seen the impact a teacher has in this community. I understand that a budget predicament like what is going on in this county forces difficult decisions, but I want to be clear about what those decisions look like from inside our hallways. Decisions like removing over 170 positions from our schools. Decisions like inadequately investing in the future of our community, especially compared to surrounding counties. These are just a few examples with catastrophic repercussions. And while you might not make all these decisions, you decide this budget. Gaston County has already lost a visual arts teacher at John Chavis Middle and a performing arts teacher at Highland. When we eliminate positions in areas like the arts, we are not just adjusting a budget. We are removing spaces where students find confidence, connection, and purpose. For many students, those classrooms are the reason they stay engaged in school at all, something no test score can represent. There are 39 counselor positions that are being removed. At Hunter Huss, we have already lost 2 of our 4. When we eliminate counselors, we are not just taking away the shoulders that so many students cry on. We are taking away the individuals that create every single student's schedule. We are taking away the morning security crew. We are taking away the wonderful humans that hold schools together by doing a dozen tasks on top of counseling students. When those positions disappear, the impact doesn't stay isolated, it spreads. It increases the load on teachers and administration who remain, and over time, that strain shows up in the consistency and stability that our students rely on, and I promise you it will show up on our test scores. Where you see a realistic budget, we see a lack of concern over education, which is the foundation of every county, and this county needs to do better. And from where I stand, that reflects a gap between the decision makers and classroom reality. Because in classrooms, we're not managing numbers. We're working with the future of our community. And the experiences we remove today shape who those students become tomorrow. I'm here to make sure that our perspective is heard and to offer my classroom up as an example. Hunter Huss High School, room E103. Please, if possible, come watch me teach and see the impact that teachers have in our community and encourage our school board members to do the same. Because when classrooms absorb the cost of these decisions, students carry it with them long after the budget is balanced. Thank you.
Jen Tracy.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Tracy, and I live at 109 Summershill Place in Belmont. I've read the explanations for the school budget shortfalls, that it's the state's responsibility or the result of growth outside of your control. But while the adults are busy explaining away the why, our children are living with the what. There are plenty of people here tonight who will demonstrate why the numbers don't add up, but I want to focus on the human aspect and the kids. I don't care about the situation in other counties. I care about ours. Pointing fingers at Raleigh or city developers doesn't fix a single classroom. I'm here to ask this commission to lead, pull together a cross-governmental team, include city leaders, include the school board, include teachers, include parents, and yes, include the kids, to find a Gaston County solution and find it fast. Our children's education cannot be a hot potato that no one wants to hold. Technical answers aren't enough when it's a child's daily life at stake. My son is about to speak. He wrote every word of his remarks himself. He shouldn't have to worry about school budgets, but he realized that if the adults aren't fixing it, he had to say something. Please listen, not as a budget item, but as a student and an equal resident of this county. Next on the list.
Are you Jack? Okay, go ahead, Jack.
Hi, my name is Jack Tracy. My address is on the sheet. I'm a third grader at New Hope Elementary. I'm here because you are not giving our schools enough money. They're in a deep hole and we need to put a ladder in so they can get out. The kids want to help. We can have bake sales or lemonade stands to help make some money too. I want to tell y'all what it's like at my school. We're growing so fast that we have kids meeting with teachers in closets. I go to AIG in a trailer outside with no bathroom, and some teachers don't even have a room. They have to push their things on carts. I know they are planning to do some construction to expand my school, but if they're building more classrooms, why are they getting rid of our teachers? My first grade teaching assistant, Miss Surface, just became a teacher a few months ago. She found out that she won't have a job next year. And if we're adding classrooms, don't we need more teachers, not less? My guidance counselor, Miss Axtell, has to see so many kids that she only gets to see our class every other week. We only see her half the time now for one school, and next year we will have to share her with another school. She's a guidance counselor. She helps people. And if she doesn't have enough time, it's not really effective. Also, my teachers and parents are having to pay for stuff themselves. My teachers are having to pay for copies and the stuff we have in our classrooms, like our games and our books. My mom does PTO, and they have to pay for IXL, which I don't really like IXL, but do y'all have to pay for the stuff that you use at work? In social studies, we're learning about supply and demand. The county is growing, and the demand for school is going up, but the supply of money went down. I know I'm only third grade, and that doesn't make sense. More people means we need more money. When my mom told me we might lose 175 staff members, I told her that's like losing 3 whole schools. And while firing teachers, that's just straight up rude. So please give our district more money than they asked for because they didn't ask y'all for enough. I will go talk to them about how they need to do a better job of managing the money too. My friends and I are the future of Gaston County, and we really need that ladder. Thank you.
Are you Oliver?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Hi, my name is Oliver Oliveras, and I am a third grader at New Hope Elementary. I am here because I love my school. It made me very sad this week to find out that one of my teachers from first grade, Mrs. Surface, was cut and will not be back next year. I'm worried that if we lose more teachers, it won't be the same. Not just for me, but for younger kids that haven't had the chance to start school yet, like my little sister. I love to read. My library is my favorite specials. Mrs. Ammons shows me different books that she thinks that I will like, and she always has great picks. She says I am her history guy. If our schools keep losing money, I'm afraid kids aren't going to be able to go to the library as much and learn from people like Mrs. Ammons. Please help New Hope keep our teachers and programs so every kid can have a great experience like mine. We are the future and we don't want to be forgotten. Thank you.
Sean Bates.
Sean Bates, President, Gastonia NAACP, 201 West Franklin. Now, the mission of the NAACP is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights of all persons and to eliminate racial hatred and racial discrimination. Well, we came here over and over to discuss this monument that's been held outside. And you guys have let it be known that you could care less what we think or what we feel. However, we have a bunch of people here concerned about budget practices. Now, we've also spoke to you about the homeless students. We spoke to you about these school budgets. Now, maybe you want to explain to them the hundreds of thousands of dollars that has been wasted to protect that monument outside. Maybe that part of education will sink into some of these kids as far as what is truly important here. I mean, if it's not the black people, if it's not the teachers that are begging you for help, or the staff, or everything else involved in this education system, where do you guys step up as the leaders of this county and say you actually matter? It is very tiresome to have to come and talk about this all the time, to have to come and plead to be seen, to be heard, to be respected. But it's more important to hold up the rights or the supremacist view of what was before as opposed to caring about what the county has now. You see, when that monument went up, this county looked a lot different. And you can make a claim that this is historical, so I'm not going to be very long here tonight. I'll say, why don't we, for historical purposes, put up a monument to represent all the slaves and all the black people that were lynched? Hopefully you guys will accept that. Thank you.
Deanna Graham.
My address is 201 West Franklin Boulevard. Good evening. My name is Deanna Graham, Vice President of the NAACP Gastonia Branch 5394B. I rise tonight to address 3 issues. First, Commissioner Chad Brown, I want to believe that requiring citizens to state their address is about procedure, not intimidation. But when that requirement appears to be applied unevenly, it raises concerns because it makes some voices feel weighed more heavily than others. Public meetings should be places where every citizen can speak without fear, without hesitation, and without feeling singled out or diminished. The last meeting did not feel equal, it felt selective. And equality and public participation matters. Second, I stand here once again to ask the question, and I'll continue to ask it until it's answered. If justice is truly blind, why does a Confederate monument stand at the entrance of our courthouse? This courthouse sits on the historic grounds of the Highland community, once a thriving center of black families. Yet a Confederate monument remains positioned at the very doorway of justice. This placement is not neutral. So I ask again, what message does that send to the people of Gaston County? In August 2020, this body voted to remove that monument. Commissioners once supported the relocation. Commissioner Alan Fraley spoke about grace, forgiveness, and a change of heart. So respectfully, I asked, what changed? The court ruled you were not required to remove the monument, but the decision returned the responsibility right back to you. Because leadership is not defined by what you must do, but what you choose to do. Third, it is imperative that the Gaston County school system receive the financial support and resources necessary to educate, protect, and prepare our children. Strong schools create strong communities, and investing in education is investing in the future of Gaston County. Justice is not proven by the words we speak, but by the actions we take. Tonight, I ask you to show this community that justice in Gaston County stands with its people by choosing unity over division, by moving toward healing, and by fully supporting the Gaston County school system with resources our children need to succeed. Thank you.
Scotty Reed.
Before I start, I would, Commissioner, like to submit this for the public record.
Motion
to accept, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Fraley, second. Commissioner Fraley, all in favor?
Hello, my name is Scotty Reed. I live at 1521 Old Highway 27. I'm about ninth generation Gastonite. That's what I call people local to Gaston County, Gastonites. I'm a proud descendant of the first free black settlement established in 1780 in Gaston County called Rankintown. I'm coming here to speak to the audience tonight because according to the chairman at a meeting or two ago, they're not interested in hearing about anything else about this monument. I don't know if they were speaking for everyone, but they said that nobody's going to move on it, speaking of the commissioners. So I'm here to talk about institutional racism, not as an abstract concept, but as something we can see, document, and measure right here in Gaston County, not just in the past, but today. In 1912, when a Confederate monument was erected, the keynote speaker did not hide the intent behind it. He praised white supremacy, promoted the ideal of a pure Anglo-Saxon blood, and attacked the rights of black citizens to vote. My ancestors. That was not accidental language. That was a declaration of purpose, the purpose of that monument. That monument was not built in 1865 for grieving families. It was built nearly 50 years later during Jim Crow when black people were being systematically disenfranchised and terrorized. It was placed at the courthouse, the center of law at the time, to send a message about who that system was for and who it was not for. That is institutional racism. Then in 1998, that same monument was moved in place at what is now the Gaston County Government Center. This isn't just a courthouse. This is the government center, the seat of power, right? The seat of local government where commissioners meet, records are kept, and decisions that affect the public are made. That decision didn't happen in a vacuum. It was a modern choice to preserve and recenter the same symbol of white supremacy at the center of government authority. That is institutional racism. Then in 2020, the community spoke, came out in large numbers and said this monument should be relocated, preferably to a museum where it can be properly contextualized, including the racist speech given at its dedication, which I turned in an article about that. And yet here we are. County commissioners today are not being neutral by refusing to remove this monument. County commissioners are making an active decision to maintain a symbol that was explicitly created to uphold white supremacy. That is institutional racism.
The next person to speak is Barbara Yates.
I got Taylor.
Motion to accept. Mr. Fraley, second. Mr. Sheehan, all those in favor? Say. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Yates. I live at 2009 Buckthorn Court here in Gastonia. I'm just I don't have a speech tonight. I'm not really a big speaker, but I'm a grandmother of 3 that are going to Gaston County schools. And I have teachers that are requesting for supplies. I'm buying paper and pencils for them. And I just don't understand that. We have an educational lottery that is not working for our system. And I'm just wondering, are you guys working with our state legislature representatives to get this worked out? You know, I just don't understand why our kids are struggling, why our teachers are struggling. It's breaking my heart to see this, and that the teachers are begging me for papers and pencils, and I just don't understand that. And I just want to concur on all these speeches tonight, and just ask y'all to please work with our state representatives to get this problem solved. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And our last speaker is Jessica Randall.
Give that to Matt.
Hi, my name is Jessica Randall, 100 Mayflower Court in Cramerton. I moved to Gaston County in 2012, first living in Mount Holly and then moving to Cramerton in 2016, where we now live with our 2 daughters who are in 6th and 2nd grade. As small business owners and community-minded citizens, my husband and I place a high value on giving back to our community, and we are teaching our girls the same. We want Gaston County to thrive. We love the small town feel of Cramerton and we love our neighbors, but for the first time since we moved to Gaston, we've been looking at houses in surrounding counties for one reason only, our public schools. Thanks to a handful of women who sounded alarms, I learned recently about the small portion of our property taxes allocated to our schools compared to similar counties around us. This is a travesty. I then learned that our county's financial concerns have been brought to you, our commissioners, for years without meaningful action. What on earth could be more of a priority than our schools and our kids? We pay our teachers laughable salaries, cut their health benefits, slash their supplements, and continue to cut personnel and services, which means they are constantly doing more with less with no end in sight. Our STEAM teacher was cut from my youngest daughter's STEAM school, a model school of distinction in our state. Librarians, nurses, counselors, at a time when kids are more mentally taxed than they ever have been, and they need these resources. Entire theater departments gone. My oldest is a theater nerd. It's unthinkable to me that she can't go to Highland now and do theater. I don't think anyone would voluntarily send their kids to these public schools unless they improve. Do more with less seems to be the mantra of our country right now, but you have the power to ease the burden on our educators and parents locally. You are just choosing not to. I see a lot of deflection and blame. The Board of Education points to the commissioners, and the commissioners point to the Board of Ed or the state, and here we are begging for the sake of our kids for someone to stand up, take accountability, and be the leaders we elected you to be. I call on you to allocate no less than 30% of our property taxes to our schools and develop a plan to continue raising that percentage until we are competitive with comparable counties. This is not an unreasonable ask. An adequately funded school system is the backbone of our economy and our community. Anything less than 30% will continue to send a message that you refuse to prioritize our teachers, our kids, and our investment in this community. You will lose additional good families, educators, and businesses on this issue. You will lose us because you failed to act in the past, but especially now. We don't want to leave. We love where we live. Show us that you want us to stay by properly funding our public schools. Stop pointing fingers and find a way to work together with the state. Thanks for your time.
Jessica Randall.
Yeah, sir. Sorry.